Welcome to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. I'm your host, Simone Morris, and I have a passion for empowering others to take responsibility for their careers. Yes, I've written several books on owning your career and am loving hosting this podcast. This podcast is for you if you're willing to make a shift to the driver's seat in your career. We feature leaders who inspire, empower, and motivate you for consistent career action for results. Please continue to join us every Sunday when a new episode is released. Let's get into this week's show. Hi there, it's Simone Morris, host of the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. I'm delighted to be joining you today and to have an authentic conversation about how to own your career on your terms. I think it's important to have that conversation every once in a while so that it centers you and grounds you around what is actually possible in your career. And that's what I want to talk to you about on today's episode. So let's get into it. I have some specifics that I want to dive into so that you can take some notes and really learn from today's episode. So here we go. Redesigning your career on your own terms. There are several things to think about with regards to that. And the first thing I want to say is permission. I do a lot of coaching on a regular basis. I am a career coach, and I have this conversation from time to time, and I'm always amazed when my clients look startled when I mention that they have a choice in their careers and that their hands aren't tied, that they are accepting situations that they're in. And I want you to think about what situations, what conversations are happening for you in your career or not, and what are you accepting? And you don't need a coach to tell you what you can accept or not. So I want you to think about what permission are you waiting for in your career? Who needs to give you permission to be at choice with the decisions that you're making in your career? Who needs to remind you to be in the driver's seat in your career? I want you to be in the driver's seat in your career. In fact, this is what this show is about, being in the driver's seat, really taking ownership of your career. So if you are at a crossroads or some things have come up where you're really reflective and wanting to have more in your career, this is the time to do so. We're nearing the end of a year, and usually you start to think about, from a planning process, what's next in your career, what you want for yourself in the new year. The world is changing. You are changing. Your organization is changing on a consistent basis, whether it's your organization as an entrepreneur or whether it's an organization that you currently work for. That organization is changing on an annual basis. And I want you to be thinking about, how do you need to change as a leader on an ongoing basis to show up for yourself in your career? So think about permission. What is the commitment that you want to make to yourself? What permission do you need? So as I think about 2024 and my personal career and permission that I need, I give myself permission to evolve, to emerge as a leader. I give myself permission to do so. And that means that something that I wanted for myself before in my career, I may no longer want it. And I give myself permission to change my mind and to be okay with the decisions that I make. Keep that in mind. You get to decide, because this, in fact, is your career. And you can redesign it the way that you want it to be. I need you to be in tune with what you want for your career. So if you are not clear on your vision for your career, what 5 years looks like, or what 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year looks like, I want you to get in tune with that. If you can't articulate what the 1 year vision is, Then articulate the 6-month vision for your career. Or if you can't do that, go back to the 3-month vision. But I do want you to have a vision of what do you want? Because here's the thing, when we're not clear on what we want, other people will tell us what we want. And I want you to be an equal participant in conversations about your career where what you want is a part of the conversation. And if you're not spending the time to think about what you want, then other people have the upper hand and they're going to tell you what's good for you in your career. And that is not being in the driver's seat for your career. Being in the driver's seat means gifting yourself time to think through what are my needs and wants. And believe it or not, your needs and wants is going to change on an ongoing basis. And if it's not changing, it means that you're not growing. So give yourself the opportunity to sit down and think about, what do I need right now? What's important to me? What do I have currently in my career? And what's missing? What do I have that I love that I want more of? What's my relationship like with my manager? What is it like? And how do I want that to improve? Or how do I want that to continue to be the same way? These are the things I want you to be thinking about when you think about owning your career and owning your power in your career. Because if we're hands off in our careers, we're not being a part of the equation and we're not owning the decisions and owning the redesign or the possibilities in our careers. So think about what you need, what you want, and write that down. Writing it down is cathartic and it's important to write it down because then you get a visual. And if you can't write it down, do a picture of what career possibilities exist for you. I'm at a very reflective place in my career. And I think a lot of the external stressors, not I think I know, a lot of the external stressors or influences are at play. We are living in a time where there's new leadership direction in the country. And when I say country, I'm talking about the United States. But even if you're listening outside of the United States, because we have a global presence on the podcast, there may be external opportunities or influences that change how you see yourself and how you see your career and how do those influence who you are. We're living in a time where there is a lot of new technology that is coming forward, a lot of new AI. And if you're not on board from a AI perspective, you need to be on board because technology is changing the way we work, the way we contribute content, the way we contribute our thought leadership. So how are you investing in technology to change how you think? I'm currently taking a strategy course because I think strategy, not I think, I know. I always catch myself when I say I think. I think reinforces what I think, but I know it to be true. So I want to make sure I say I know. I know in my career that strategy is important. So I'm currently taking a strategy course and investing in my thinking so I can be better. I tell my clients this all the time. What about me? I need to transform and grow as a leader as well. And I want you to be investing in your own professional development and growing on a continual basis. So back to me talking about needs and wants. What do I need? I need an environment that is fertile, that appreciates my value and is able to play back to me that my value is there. If I lack that environment, then I need to make some changes. So value is one of the things that's really important to me in 2024. It's always been important to me, but it's become even more so. Really appreciating what I bring to the table and that being recognized and appreciated in a win-win scenario. And if that's not the case, then I need to make some changes. So think about that. And when you think about growing as a leader and promotion and succession planning, how am I seen? How am I perceived? How am I rewarded? How am I recognized? I also think the same thing about social media and the content that I put out there. How am I valued and recognized and rewarded? And reward doesn't always have to mean dollars, but how am I rewarded for the content that I share, the contributions that I make? I think about that from a legacy for this podcast. It is my desire for you to get content that you can implement and improve in your career, improve your awareness and perspective around the importance of being in the driver's seat, taking ownership for your career. Very important. How are you implementing changes in your career? So we, at the start of the podcast, talked about the fact that there was an opportunity to redesign what my career looks like. Think about where I am in my career and what I want that's missing or a new opportunity, and how do I layer that in? What's the strategy? What's the career strategy going forward? Putting that on paper. Once you put that on paper, you want to move from the vision to a plan of action. I've heard the phrase, if you don't have a plan, it's a dream. So we want to make sure we're not, I want to encourage you to dream. Let me say that. So that's not what I'm getting at with my comment. I want you to dream and dream big, but I also want you to execute. And I said to someone recently, my project management background allows me to execute in a very good way, but I also come at this angle from a lot of different ideas of things that I want to do to be a part of my legacy. So I want you to be dreaming big. And one of the ways to dream big is to expose yourself to different things and different experiences and different people, because that allows you to up your game in your career. So I'm always feeding in, whether it's a book, whether it's a webinar. These are important things for you to expose yourself to, because they get the wheels turning in your brain, and they are input into needs and wants and how you show up differently as a leader. So let's move from the vision to the plan. And I have information in my book, Achievement Unlocked, Strategies to Manifest Goals. That book, as well as The Power of Owning Your Career, and of course, the latest 52 Tips for Owning Your Career, those resources can help you to get to the plan in your career. So put down the plan. What's the plan? And I tell people it doesn't have to be this 10-year plan or 5-year plan. It can be a short plan with different phases where you think about, what do I want to achieve between now and the end of the year? What do I want to achieve in the first quarter? What do I want to achieve in the next 6 months and 9 months and a year? So break it up into digestible pieces so that you don't get dissuaded or discouraged by the fact that you don't have a comprehensive plan. Just starting it and having some actions on there that you can take, and having accountability in place where there's somebody that says to you, have you done XYZ? I recently hired a strategy coach to help me be accountable for the strategy that I'm putting in place for my career in 2025 and beyond, because I know that I need the accountability in place so that I execute, I do what I say I'm going to do. Think about that in your career. Sometimes we have conversations with our managers or clients. If you're an entrepreneur, we have these conversations of things that we want to do, and then they get put by the wayside. They get deprioritized. I want you to be able to achieve what you say you want to do in your career, this redesign, this new career that you envision for yourself. So make sure that there is accountability. And once you have the vision on paper and you are beginning to execute your plan, you're going to come up against conversations that call for you to negotiate. But if you don't have the clear vision, you're not able to negotiate with confidence. So it's really important that you have your vision and you prioritize the things that you want so that you can negotiate. And negotiate could mean delay. So that's one of the things or opportunities for you to think about in terms of growing your skills could be to take a class on negotiations. How strong are you in negotiating and standing in your value? You have to be willing to walk. What's the deal breaker? What doesn't work for me? but you have to be proactive and do your work up front so that when you enter a conversation where you're talking about the vision that you have for yourself and the vision for partnership, if there's things that's missing and you're not feeling valued in the conversation, you have to know what your walking point is, or what you want to bet on, or what you want to invest in. I want you to bet on yourself. This show is about the driver's seat. So be sure to bet on yourself and to really think about negotiations, technology, planning, strategic thinking. These are things that I touched upon in this conversation today. Think about those things and how you incorporate that into your plan, your annual career plan, the strategic plan for what's coming up for you. If I can support you in any way, please do schedule a career breakthrough call, and I can help you work through the strategy. I have a 30-minute complimentary conversation, so that's at careerbreakthroughcall.com. And that can help you to navigate and think about what's next for you and bounce ideas off of a coach. So I offer that as a strategy to you. I do coaching for a living, so if you want something more comprehensive, I do have packages available for you to consider, but at least we can start out with the discovery call. I also encourage you to keep listening to the show. Right now, we are 204 episodes in, which I'm really proud of this body of work. There are resources available to you to take advantage of growing your career and being empowered to be in the driver's seat. Keep this in mind and stay in the driver's seat, own your career. Because guess what? You can move to being a passenger, because life can dictate changes where you feel like, you know what, I need to hang out being a passenger right now. My desire for you is to be able to flex so that, okay, I know what I need right now, and right now I'm going to sit in the passenger seat. But you know what? I have the skills that I need to dip back into the driver's seat when I'm ready to do so. Keep that in mind and take that forward. And I appreciate the opportunity to connect and share with you. If you'd like to chat with me, please do drop me a line. I appreciate any feedback on the show. If you share the shows with others in your network, whether it's family, friends, community, I welcome you to share the podcast with others. And please do tag me, tag the podcast, tag hashtag POOYC, Power of Owning Your Career, POOYC podcast. As always, you can listen to the show at pod.link//own your career, and that will allow you to listen to it wherever you listen to the show. I encourage you to continue listening to the show. And we have more episodes coming up for you in this season 13. We've got some more exciting episodes, so be on the lookout for those episodes as well. But for now, this is Simone Morris signing off for the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. Remember to be in the driver's seat for your career. Thanks again for listening, and have a great week. I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this week's empowering career story on the podcast. If you did, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Wherever you listen to the podcast, be sure that you are subscribing and that you rate and review the podcast. It's so important as we continue to spread the word of career empowerment. In addition, you can head over to the LinkedIn platform and join the Power of Owning Your Career discussion group. There you can have access to the guests who have been on the podcast, as well as others listening to the podcast, as well as myself, where we can continue the conversation. I hope to see you on that platform. You can also email me at pooyc@simonemorris.com if you have a suggestion for guest or a message that you want me to hear personally. Thanks so much, and make it an inspiring, empowering week in your career.